Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review for Halloween month. This is I had more rants for Halloween month than I ever have, probably, because I just keep a lot of times I had more. It's more rants than it's more negative reviews than positive reviews this month. But hey, it's fun though, but still serious at the same time. But the thing is, though, this year has been a very shitty year for horror films. It has been. Especially for horror films, it's been really shitty. I did not care for Megan. Especially I didn't care for this film as well. I mean, Meg was okay. Meg 2 was okay. But I just didn't, I didn't hate it, but I thought the first film was better. Scream 6, I hated. Bo was afraid. That was crap too. Um, Talk to Me, yeah. Just it's been a very shitty year for horror films. As well as Evil Dead Rise, you know. That was complete garbage as well. Overrated out in my opinion, I would say. This year has been a good year for horror films. And add this film on top of that too. So yeah, this would be of which I saw recently, The Exorcist Believer. Thing is, though, I think it's years too late for this franchise. This franchise hasn't been was done. Well, obviously it's not done because they want to do this film. They want to do two more sequels, but this franchise hasn't been touched on in now 18 years now. The last one was back in 2005, and that was Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, which I was not big on though. But I'm not even really big on the overall The Exorcist franchise anyway. The first film, I understand why it's a classic. I totally understand that. And in ways, I respect that movie. Just like I respect the original Night of the Living Dead. I'm not big on the original Night of the Living Dead, though. But I respect it because that would redefine... Because we wouldn't have the zombie films of today if it wasn't for that film. That's why I respect that film. The Exorcist, I do respect it on some aspects as well. Okay? But I'm still not really big on the original Exorcist anyway. I like Max von Sydow. May he rest in peace. I thought he was good as Father Merrin. There does have some of those classic creepy moments, memorable moments from that film. The time when Linda Blair, with the whole head turning and the puking and all that, right? There was still some creepy aspects of that film which I do respect, though. But overall, I'm not big on the original Exorcist, though. But I do respect that film, why it's a classic, etc. Exorcist 2: The Heretic. It's a bad film, but I can watch it because I can laugh at it. There was some kind of creative things though, but since the film was so bad though, they kind of say it's like badly creative. James Earl Jones I like, but I think he should not have been in the film. Exorcist 3 to me I think is the best one. With George C. Scott, you got Brad Dourif in there. I thought those two did a really great job in that film. Directed by William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original Exorcist. To me, I think that's the best one. And I think, oh cool, you get a cameo appearance from Sam Jackson. Even Fabio, Fabio, yeah. Even he has a tiny appearance in this as well. Even like I said, even Samuel Jackson. But Exorcist 3, I thought had some much more things going for it. Like I said, I think it was two very compelling performances from George C. Scott and Brad Dourif. And even there was that one jump scare that no one saw coming. I think it's one of the better jump scares ever I've seen in films, in my opinion. But that was back then when, unlike today, that's all you do is scare people is with jump scares every second. But that one jump scare, that will still stick with me. That would, probably no one would have expected. So I think, to me, I think Exorcist 3 is the best one. And then it came the prequels. Basically two of the same movies, but different directors and, little different changes. The first one, Exorcist the Beginning, the one that's directed by Renny Harlin. To me, out of those two films, I think that one's better than Dominion. Because at least the third act, it became a little more of an action film, and you got like different bits of gory bits, like bones breaking and stuff like that. I was like, ooh, So I think Exorcist the Beginning, I could still watch, just for like those bits, But I'm still not big on that film either, though. And then Dominion prequel, The Exorcist I thought was boring. I mean, Stellan Skarsgård who played young Father Merrin in both those films. I think he was good though, but I'm just not really big on these Exorcist films, And except for the third film, and this one I think it's just decades too late, because by the time from 2005 after Dominion until now, we have so many demonic possession films and stuff like that, like with the Insidious franchise and the Conjuring franchise. Even some other just a typical demonic possession films. I mean, there's one I particularly like. That was called from that Jerry Bruckheimer produced, and it starred Eric Bana and Edgar Ramirez. It was called Deliver Us from Evil. That was a pretty good one because I like the idea that it was done from a cop's perspective, like knowing this whole world of demonic possessions and stuff like that. I thought I like that film. Deliver Us from Evil. That was a pretty good one. I like the first two Conjuring films. Third one I did not like though, sadly. But Insidious, I think they didn't make any more franchise. I mean, the first one I thought was tolerable enough. But at least it's completely directed by James Wan, which I'm sadly say James Wan is a much better horror director than David Gordon Green. Because I think David Gordon Green, who directed this film after he did the new Halloween trilogy. I'm sorry, David Gordon Green, you're an idiot. I think you should stop making you don't know how to make horror films. Stop making horror films and just step back to doing comedy films like Horrible Bosses and stuff, Stay out of horror films, okay? You're not good at doing horror films. It's more like I say with director James Wan, he just, action films it's not his forte, like Aquaman or Furious 7, But he's more of a horror director. He is a horror director. Although, like I said, with Malignant, he did learn some tips on how to do action from those films, but still. And Malignant, to me, it's like that's not like my new favorite film of his. I love Malignant. That was the best one I've seen from 2021. That was much more creative and probably more unique and probably I'll even say more original than I got nothing out of this movie of Exorcist the Believer. Because this film, David Gordon Green doesn't know what he's doing as a director and as a horror film. Okay, not only he helped write the film, but also he had Danny McBride, who helped him write on the other Halloween films. He also wrote this film as well. And Danny McBride, stick to comedic acting, not as a writer. Okay. I mean, I like Pineapple Express, Your Highness, and for what the role of comedy film was. This Is the End. Stick to doing comedy roles. Don't be a writer, okay? Because you're not good at writing horror, Danny McBride. I'm saying you're an idiot on that front as well. I'm sorry, okay? You and David Gordon Green, stay out of horror films, okay? Stick to doing comedies. Don't do any more horror films. So, but this film, to me, this is the most boring of this franchise. It's the most boring Exorcist film, and people probably say it was the worst. I mean, all the ones I mentioned are all better than this movie. the rest of the other Exorcist movies are all better than this film. I mean, especially this film got much negative reviews. It was like a 22% Rotten Tomatoes, right, and like a 5.1 IMDb. I mean, it was critically not well received, obviously, but it's such a because after what the Universal bought the rights to this film because at the time, you know, Exorcist was with Warner Brothers, right, and so they paid a whole lot to get the rights to this franchise to Universal, and they had such expectations, you know, and thought it was gonna be a big hit though, but it turns out actually it was. It had such a low opening with 27 million, and it's barely made over 100 million, you know. And that was although granted it is the second highest grossing of the franchise because it's made the most money other than the first film, but still it wasn't that huge that the studios wasn't thought of. Now because of this, now they're considering the two upcoming sequels, whether David Gore Green doesn't want to step down as a director, which I think for good reason because he should not direct more horror films, and how now that that's still up in the air what they're going to do with these two sequels because the next one called Deceiver comes out in 2025 and like I mean they can't make they always can make it always worse because several franchises do that. I mean hell, the Halloween trilogy, it kept getting worse and worse. Halloween Ends, that was easily the worst one. That was just such a garbage movie, you know. Pissed me off, you know. So yeah, they can always make it worse. But anyway, I'm how many minutes I'm in now? I'm talking about the film. But yeah, but that's how the gist of all this stuff is. But okay, get into the story. Finally, it opens up in it was in Haiti. We have a lead guy named Victor Fielding, played by Leslie Odom Jr. And I gotta say, I'd probably say he's probably the only positive I could think about this film because I thought he was pretty decent. He was not bad acting wise. I thought overall he was kind of decent in the film. If I would say any positives, like I say, probably Leslie Odom Jr. I thought he was very decent in this film. I'm not being fair. I'm giving you a positive here. I thought the lead guy, Leslie Odom Jr. as Victor, I thought he was very decent in the film. He's in Haiti with his pregnant wife. He's a photographer, taking pictures. And all of a sudden, he's outside and his wife is in the building, and then there's this earthquake. Now, when this earthquake happens, you have some digital enhancements along with some very shaky cam, you know. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is where you start the film, you know, with shaky cam and digital enhancements. I mean, I barely saw what was going on, with all the shaky cam was going on. But he gets there, his wife's in the rubble, and when he gets the doctors are telling him, which they're very casually telling him this, you know, not like the very concerned attitude tone, whatever, but like casually saying, "Oh, you have to choose either your wife or your kid, you know, because we can't say both." So, and then it cuts to 13 years later. So he has his daughter named Angela. So obviously his wife died. So it's 13 years later. They're back in their hometown in Georgia, and they they do like a little bit of hide and seek together. And Angela wanted to take her mom's scarf with her, but he said no. And they go to school with her friend her friend Catherine. After school, they walk off into the woods. They find like this hole in the ground, this under part. They try to try to speak with Angela's mother, you know, and then later on they didn't come home. They've been gone missing, so they get a police search, and then which turns out it's 3 days later that a guy finds them in a barn. And they come back and they kind of have amnesia because they thought they were gone for 3 hours, but it turns out they were gone for 3 days. So they bring him home. They start acting weird. A little bit odd behavior. Like when Victor is brushing his teeth, the lights go off, and she's peered right there, saying, "Did you say something? I thought I heard you say something." And then with Catherine, well, we'll get to Catherine in a second, but Angela, get into with her parts first. Larry thought that they should kind of like wet the bed a bit because he was smelling something on the bed. So he was gonna bathe her, but then the water is all dirty and murky, and then Angela tried suffocating for a second. Then she's on the floor, convulsing or having a seizure, and then with Catherine, they're at church because her family is religious. They're at church, and then she disappears for a bit, and then she's walking down the aisle. I guess because the keeps repeating, body in the blood, the body in the blood, the body in the blood, the body in the blood. I just thought, first of all, I never thought anything in this film was creepy or scary. Because first of all, I'm never scared by films no more. That's one thing, but I didn't find anything creepy or suspenseful about this. I mean, yeah, the girl is like just talking, just repeating, buying the blood, but although it didn't show like in the trailer where she was repeating that, also like there's also the shaky up close, whatever, which I thought that was silly anyway. Well, it didn't do that though in this film, just for the trailer. So they take her away, and one of the pastor at the church, I recognize because he's much older though. Watch at first though, but it's actually a guy named Raphael Sbarge, which I'm like, I thought I recognized him because he's much older though. But the last time I saw him, he was in Carnosaur. If you remember the Carnosaur trilogy, right, 2 and 3, right, the first one, he was a guy named Doc. He was that. He lived in his trailer in that construction site, right, and finding the cure for that disease, right? And he fought the T-Rex at the end of that with a bulldozer. Yeah, the character Doc. I'm like, really? That's him from Carnosaur? Really? Jeez. I mean, I didn't mind the first Carnosaur film because I thought the sequels were better, though, but I'm like, Carnosaur... Well, I know Carnosaur is not loved by a lot of people. I know that, though. Like, really? That's another thing about this Exorcist Believer is Carnosaur, because Raphael Sbarge was in that. So, but anyway, and all this leading up to basically by the times from this part, the time comes to doing the Exorcist, that's like an hour. It's like not much happens. It's it's just very boring. It's just not much happens. Yeah. They're now because Angela's in they put her in a mental institution, and this woman who's Victor's neighbor, who was supposed to be, she was originally going to be a nun but couldn't, but she's working as a nurse at the hospital, right? And she tells Victor about Chris MacNeil, Ellen Burstyn from the original Exorcist, the mother of Regan. So he goes and sees her. Ellen Burstyn. Honestly, yeah, it was cool to see Ellen Burstyn, though. But the thing is, though, she's 90 years old. Because, actually, this film was released 50 years, the 50th anniversary of the year when the original Exorcist came out. Because, yeah, 1973, 2023, 50 years. So, yeah. Yeah, 50 years, and during the time, she was 40, so here, she's 90 now. I'm like, yeah, cool to see Ellen Burstyn, though, but the thing is, she's 90, though, but I think reading up, I think the reason why she did this, because I think the money that she took for this role, I think she gave, because, I don't know if it's a charity, but it was, like, for helping upcoming young actors, I think. If so, cool, that's good for Ellen Burstyn, always good, doing good deeds, okay, good for her. But the thing is, the thing is bringing her back because one thing I always say is nostalgia. Bringing old characters back for nostalgia, right? That's one thing I'm always tired of seeing is nostalgia. So he explains to her about what's going on, and she's explaining about the exorcism stuff like that. And he had a stupid line. I don't know if it was David Gore Green or Danny McBride who wrote this. Whatever the case, and this stupid line, like, a stupid thing which I heard in the freaking Barbie movie, because I wonder why she did not take part in the exorcism, and Ellen Burstyn says, well, because I was not a member of the damn patriarchy. I'm like, first of all, it's not Ellen Burstyn's fault. It's the character. It's her character of Chris. I'm not aiming at the actress. It's the character. You didn't know nothing about exorcisms. You were not in that room when Max von Sydow and his other apprentice was doing the exorcism. You didn't know nothing about that. You know shit, basically. So even though, after this, years later, decades and decades later, you studied all this stuff, but the thing is, though, back then, you didn't know nothing about an exorcism. You probably didn't even believe that there was demonic possessions back then, you know? So you know nothing. What does it mean being a member of the damn patriarchy has anything to do with that? First of all, that's a stupid line, okay? No, it's because you didn't know nothing about exorcisms. You're not a priest, or let alone a priestess, you know? You know what I mean, priestess. You're not any of those a member of the church or anything like that. So you wouldn't know nothing about it. You couldn't do nothing for your daughter when she was possessed. So what kind of a stupid line is that? Who I wrote that, it was either Dan McBride or David Gore Green. Wherever there's a bunch of idiots. So, anyway, then she wrote a book about after what happened to Reagan. She wrote a book about it, and it was successful. But the thing is, though, it upsetted Reagan. And then she went into hiding, and she hasn't spoken to her mother since then. Probably because of the book, you know, and so they haven't spoken to each other for decades. And so she agrees to help him, and also while they go to the mental institution where Angela is, we see her claw the word Reagan, which she knew nothing about who that is. Well, they don't see the name, but it was behind a board under the window. And it looks like apparently it's probably like the same demon that from before, from the original, because that's when Ellen Burstyn says, you know, we've met before. But and then then she goes to see Catherine, she goes to go to Catherine's house, and it just makes Ellen Burstyn's character such an idiot, you know. It makes her an idiot. I mean, even though your knowledge of knowing all this stuff, but you're not a priest or priestess or whatever, you know. She goes up there to see Catherine, thinking she could do it on her own by saying a few words. She doesn't say anything like, you know, like any religious quotes or anything, you know, like what Max von Sydow says, Father Mary, you know, by the power of Christ compel you. By the power of Christ compel you. I mean, she doesn't know anything about that stuff. She doesn't say anything. She says, oh, you release, you know, we met before, you release her, you know. And when she thinks it's okay, the possessed girl Catherine goes and takes a cross and stabs her in the eyes, blinding her. Now, granted, I would say this, though. They didn't kill her off. That was a surprise to me. Because that's how usually the films nowadays, they bring original characters back and usually they kill them off. They didn't kill her off, though, but she's just blind now. Because for freaking stupidity, thinking she could do this all by herself with... You know, it goes to show that, you know, why she couldn't participate. It turns out to be correct, you know, because you have no experience in this field at all, and it lets you because of your stupidity, you end up getting blind by it. And then Victor comes in saying, "What have you done?" And then. Although there was one thing I saw that had happened in that scene because it was in the trailer, but it was cut out though. I guess. And a split second where she was reading the Bible, Catherine possessed. The trailer, she tears a page out and just starts eating the page. I know that was in that scene right here, but I never saw that though. I don't know why they cut that out though, but who cares? Why I'm not giving too much thought on that though, but. That scene that where she takes a page from the Bible and eats it, that was in the trailer, but that was not in that one scene, though. Excuse me. This film is making me bloated. That's why I'm talking like this, because I'm getting bloated here, because it's filling me up with gas because of this film. So she's in the hospital, she's blind now, so Victor has like her neighbor and another neighbor, and this one woman who was in his daughter's room before doing like a blessing and stuff, and the pastor Raphael Sabarge, and the Catherine's parents. They're there. They're gonna perform the exorcism. This one priest who was supposed to do it with them, he couldn't do it. I think it was the church that ordered him not to, or whatever, so he couldn't do it. So they had to do it themselves. So they set this whole up in the room. They're bound to a chair. And this, like, by the time before this exorcism starts, like it's like an hour. It's like an hour of the movie, with like 20 or 30 minutes so left. I'm like, not much really happens in the movie. That's saying why the film is so boring, because not much happens. By the time they start doing the exorcism, so they're doing it, and then one thing is another, like some vapors come out of their mouths, and the one religious woman spits in the fire to get rid of all that CGI vapors. And then finally, when the priest finally comes in, then the possessed to snap his neck, makes his turn all the way around. CG enhancements as well. I mean, although it wasn't quite as a CG enhancement like from Freddy vs. Jason, when Jason just twisted that guy's head all the way around. Wasn't as bad as that, though. But turns his head the way around. Or it was... I thought it was much more cooler in Saw 3, which I'm not really big on Saw 3, though. But the whole aspect with Timothy Young, who was on the rack, and his head starts slowly... I mean, that was much more impactful and more disturbing than this. That one twisted head. Like I said, I'm not big on Saw 3 either, though, because first one I like, 2 was tolerable, but the sequels went down after that, though. But there was one thing that was like a creepy aspect of that was the rack with his head turning all the way around of Timothy. Yeah. Even the exorcism was not much going on besides that, Vapors came out of them. The priest died. Not much, Then the possessed them, saying that, hey, you have to choose which one will live, which one will die. And Victor, because you think go back to the beginning and think about who had to choose his wife for his baby, right? Originally, yeah, he chose his wife, but she died anyway. So this time he says, I won't choose, which rightfully so, yeah. Which I think he was like a right thing doing that, saying, yeah, he won't choose. And even he brought his wife's scarf to give to Angela, which is like, here, if you want, I'm sorry for taking this away from you, because I know how much your mother meant to you. So here, this will the connection, between that. So puts it around her. And then, of course, with the Catherine's parents, the religious parents, the father makes a self-decision. Hey, I choose you, Catherine. So then Angela starts lifting. Damn. She starts lifting up and thinking she's dead, though, but turns out it's Catherine. It was a trick, it was like a repeat from before, with Victor, he chose his wife to live, but she died and the baby lived. Here, he chose his daughter dying, and Angela lived. And then we see Angela, like in a vision or whatever dream, whatever. She gets dragged into hell. I'm like, although I don't know what's worse, how was this girl getting dragged to hell, or what was it? Allison from Drag Me to Hell being dragged down to hell. Now, when I say what is worse, did Did this girl Catherine deserve to go to hell? No. No, she didn't though. But hey, it was a trick thing, like it was basically a trick though. But either way, in a way, some ways, evil did kind of win. By the way, because one is dead, it took one to hell with them. So in a way, evil won in a way, and most of the time the Exorcist was pretty much pointless because one still died. Although for the father, the religious father, yeah, of course he wants his daughter to live though, but it was kind of a selfish thing to let the other kid die, But I mean, what would you? Yeah, you could say that he wanted both kids to live though, but I don't know. So, but she lives. After that, she's gone back to school, and Ellen Burstyn, she's in the hospital still, and we get the cameo from Linda Blair as Regan. She finally visits her mother, although she was nowhere to be found. What Ellen Burstyn said, she doesn't know where she was, but Linda Blair, she found out where her mother was. How did she know where she was, and how was she aware of the situation? I have no idea. But probably leave it to sequels though. But to a new trilogy, I'm like, great. This film was, like I said, it was the most boring Exorcist film I've seen. I mean, other films I thought were better. I mean, Conjuring 1 and 2 I thought were better. The first Insidious was better. I mean, The Exorcism of Emily Rose I thought was better. Because I think that was another interesting thing. It was basically like a court case. But, that was even much better than this. Deliver Us from Evil is much better than this. Even if pretty much the Exorcist movie, the last Exorcist movies were better than this. Yeah, I even put, Exorcist 2, The Heretic, better than this movie. Even Dominion, or like the beginning of it is better than this. Of course, I will still say the original Exorcist is better than this. Of course, I would say that. Like I said, the original Exorcist is not a bad film at all. I never said that. I just wasn't really a fan of the original. And I explain why. But it was just the most boring Exorcist film I've seen. And David Gordon Green, you should stop making horror films altogether. Leave the horror. Leave the for the new horror directors. I would say I pick James Wan because I think even James Wan. I thought even James Wan would do a better job of directing an Exorcist film than you do. I mean, James Wan. I like the first Saw film. Even the thrillers like Death Sentence and even Dead Silence. I like. Dead Silence. I thought was better than this. The first Insidious. Well, he directed the sequels. Insidious Chapter 2. He directed the 2 Conjuring films. The first Saw film, like I said. Even Malignant, I love Malignant. Is much better. Is twice better than Exorcist the Believer. I mean, yeah, action is not his powerhouse either, but I think he's just sick doing horror films. And David Gordon Green doing. And especially Danny McBride, don't write anymore. Just stick acting in comedies. Same with David Gordon Green. Just direct comedies, no more horror films, because you can't make a horror film. That's what I'm saying. There's just a bunch of idiots, okay? I mean, the Halloween trilogy I don't like. I don't like at all. I hate. Yeah, I don't like Halloween. I don't like the 2018 Halloween film. Halloween Kills, I don't like. And Halloween Ends was the worst of it. That pissed me off more. Halloween version of Christine. Of John Carpenter's Christine. Yeah. I mean, and then this film, what happens? They get lost, they come back, acting weird. Ellen Burstyn comes in for. Oh, that's another thing. They like in the trailers they build her up. This. Oh, she's come back, but she's in it for pretty much about 7 minutes at most. Like they build her up in the trailers and TV spots. But she was not in the film that much. At least they just brought her back because of nostalgia. You know, the mother of Reagan. You know, but the thing is, though, her character was pretty much an idiot because she had no experience at doing exorcism at all, and lo and behold, it was correct. You know, she ended up became blind by it. And the whole stupid line, oh, I wasn't a member of the patriarchy, whatever. Stupid line, okay? I heard that enough in the Barbie film, which I'm not a fan of either. So... But, like I said, positives, like I said, even though it was cool that Ellen Burstyn came back regardless, though, but still. They made her character an idiot. Leslie Odom Jr. as Victor... I thought he was pretty much the best of the best of the movie. I thought he was overall decent. He tried the best he could. The rest of the characters were not much to rum home about either. I mean the two kids. I mean they did the possessed kids. You know, I thought they did the best they could. You know, I mean, but these characters I just don't care for. You know, I mean the music, not much. It was just generic run of the mill, you know. The directing by David Gordon Green can't direct horror films. Let alone write a horror film, let alone Danny McBride can't write a horror film. Oh, but he's not gonna direct the sequels. So what? Yeah, it's good that he's not directing. Probably is. Probably for the better he can't direct any more horror films. But wherever, because due to the low performance this film has, now the whole thing that they're deciding whether or not to go through with these sequels. To me, don't make any more. You know, that's the best option. But they're always gonna, like I said, they're always gonna continue making more. Well, even from other franchises, they're gonna continue to make more and more, whatever. They just don't learn. This was another about bland, generic exorcism movie. I mean, just because of the title. I mean, what other exorcism films we've seen done before all this? Between 2005, after Dominion prequels to Exorcist, until now, how many horror possessed films we've seen between that timeline that's been done already? Anyway, yeah, this year has been a very shitty year for horror films. You know, let alone a bad year for films in general. But for horror films, yeah, this film was a piece of shit, basically. Scream 6 was a piece of shit, definitely. Evil Dead Rise, yes. Megan, I didn't like. I just don't get it, though. Oh, yeah, Skin and Marik, too. Yeah, Skin and Marik, I gotta forget that. See, that's why that film was so forgettable, I forgot about it. Skin and Marik. That's one of the most boring movies you can ever watch. Cure for Insomnia, yeah. But yeah, it's been a very shitty year for horror films. But yeah, Exorcist Believer. Yeah, I want to believe this film does not exist. I want to believe that they could just stop making more movies like these. End franchises. God. Probably that's how to take an acid because I'm just so bloated because this film made me so bloated, you know. Blah. But anyway, Exorcist Believer. Most boring one. It's easily the worst one I've seen. I was stick to watching Exorcist 3. To me, that's the best one. I could watch from the good performances from George C. Scott and the Brad Dourif as well. Hey, see a cool appearance from Sam Jackson, even Fabio. But more creepy aspects happens in that movie, and that one great jump scare, I can still watch for that. So, even the original Exorcist film, I can still watch over this. Like I said, I respect the film. It's not a bad film at all. Many people still love the film. I respect that. So, even I will probably say it's better than. It's still better. So yeah. Even Exorcist Beginning, I rather watch over this, at least for a cool third act, you know, in a way. But anyway, Exorcist Believer. crap. As for the rest of the horror films I've seen this year. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And we'll see you next time. Later.